everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Ultimate Effort Show with Alex.
And Joe.
And again, if you're super perceptive, you're going to see that we have a very special guest.
Yes.
Somebody that you may not have seen before. Although I know you also have your own YouTube channel where you've showcased some music creation, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, well, thank you.
But by and large, everybody, at least from the Runehammer community and maybe elsewhere online in terms of the gaming community, are going to know you as Monomakes.
Right? We all know the M.
Yep, we know the M. It is so cool. And you are the producer of some of the best handcrafted, high-quality dice I have ever seen. I mean, I've been around the hobby for a long time. Literally, the dice that you have created for me are, they're spilling everywhere, are my favorite set of dice. I mean, they're just outstanding. So I cannot tell you, A, how happy I am to have you on the show. Yes. Garrett, a.k.a. Monomakes, welcome to the Ultimate Effort Show. And we want to hear all about you. We want to talk about you. We want to get to how you even started creating dice and a little bit about your process. And then we definitely want to talk about the Ultimate Effort Throwdown Contest.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, indeed.
Which you have generously furnished prizes for, or will furnish the prizes for. And we could not be more grateful for you. I know the community is super grateful for you. And without further ado, let's just dive in and hear all about Mono, aka Monomakes, and your experience with the hobby.
Oh yeah,
cool.
Because that's that is our tradition. Like, we have a guest of the show, we have a one of our all-stars show up. We got to know the origin story. Like, how did you get into gaming? I know I reference superhero stuff all the time because I like superheroes. It's like, what was that catalyst event that propelled Monomakes into the gaming world? What's that origin story for you?
Right. First of all, thank you very much for having me on. I don't know why you're having me on, because you just said one of our all-stars or something like that. I'm not an all-star.
Totally you are.
But hopefully it will start a kind of a run of other community members coming on. Hopefully I can make some kind of
I just rolled
impact.
a 19.
I don't know.
I just rolled a 19, so that beat the target number. You're an all-star. Deal with it. This was your own dice, man. This was one of your own dice that rolled a 19.
Oh, really? Okay, thanks.
All-star.
We'll see. Well, we'll get to all that kind of thing a bit later. But especially the competition will be, I'm looking forward to the results of that. I've heard lots of things going backwards and forwards about marathons and stuff. But okay, so I've bulleted a few points. I started playing board games with a friend. Nice. One of the board games that his father bought for him was Hero Quest. So we got into that. This is probably when I was about 13, 12 or 13. And around that sort of time, also got into fighting fantasy books, the choose your own adventure kind of thing. Steve Jackson, I think it was, right? Warlock of Firetop Mountain and blah, blah, blah. And then through that, joined the D&D club in Wimbledon College, which was a school that I went to in the 80s, a Jesuit school, which was it was interesting. But we were given this little room, because it was a club. Oh yes, the boys are being social. Yes, okay, So they gave us a room to hold our little club in, and I went, and I think most of the people went, basically to talk about the miniatures. I love the miniatures, and martial arts weapons. Most people brought martial arts weapons, which were available for sale. This is London in the 80s. And one guy would bring nunchucks. Someone else brought. I had tonfa, which are like the police batons. I think they use them in America like that.
Correct.
But the best one was a Morning Star. Someone brought a Morning Star, which was pretty cool. It was like a mini one. Probably like an antique or something. I don't know. Anyway, then I had a massive gap of role playing until the 90s. At which point I. Mid-90s, I guess it was, played a couple of games, with a friend. We played a few games of WEG Star Wars, the D6 game, I think it was, and a bit of
Stack of them
Shadowrun,
back
I
there.
think. I've still got
Back
I've
there.
still got the got a Twi'lek character from the 80s.
Nice.
And I've got my the other thing I got from the D&D club before was the advanced the AD&D rulebooks, the player handbook and the DM's guide. So I've got the originals with the red demon on the front.
Yeah.
And they're pretty cool, prized possessions,
Yep, absolutely.
No, this
But
is
I
the
don't
first edition AD&D.
Right,
Nice.
I think it was, yeah. And but there you go. Okay, so then another great big gap until about mid 2019, when I'm living in Barcelona, and I walked past a shop which often shops here don't seem to be open, and suddenly they're open. You think, oh my god, where did that shop come from? And it was a gaming shop, right? There was all the board games in the window, and I just walked in just to peruse the wares, and they had some pots of dice, of RPG dice on the tables. And I thought, oh, wow, yeah, Dungeons and Dragons, blah, blah, blah. So I looked for groups, and I thought, what's the best way? Oh, yeah, Meetup. Okay, so I went to meetup.com, looked for D&D in Barcelona, found the Meetup group for that, which was kind of not particularly active, but basically I found a game and started playing, what was it, The Lost Mines of Fandelver as an intro group with a couple of other people who were relatively new to it. Basically got into it from there.
That's awesome.
After a while, as preparation for that, I watched a stream.
Okay.
A YouTube stream about the rules, because I've been out D&D for such a long time, and I wasn't sure exactly how to play it anymore.
Yeah.
How do I do this again?
Exactly right. I mean, maybe I even wasn't at the beginning. I don't know, but
I still don't know.
well, yeah, exactly. The more you know, the less. No, was it? The more you know, the more you don't know, or something like that.
Yeah.
I watched the stream. It wasn't Critical Role. It was called the Dungeon Run. So I started on episode 5 and went through and through, and I joined a Discord server because of it.
Nice.
And it was really good. It's good to get back into this little community of like-minded people. And then, and around the same time, I had started making chainmail stuff as a hobby, but we'll come to that a bit later.
Yeah. Yeah, you bet we will. That's all.
Right. I've known a couple of folks that make, no, it's good. No, I've known a couple of folks that make chainmail, and it always struck me as weird because, like, at first it's like, oh, are those knitting needles? And they're like, I'm doing chainmail. It's like, all right, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Mono, I have to ask you this because number one, I have to say I'm trying to place your accent. Like, is that Arkansas? Like, I'm not sure.
That's London, Mike.
Like where you're from. And I just have to say it's awesome to have you on because Joe and I need a little bit of refinement in our lives. So having you on has completely elevated our show. Number one. Number two, I think this is very interesting because you moved to Barcelona at some point. And then sort of refound the hobby, as you were saying, and then went to find a group in Barcelona. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about and I assume you're bilingual. Talk to me about playing potentially in another language. Like, wouldn't that be like super finicky in terms of everyone's communal understanding of the rules?
Yeah. Well, there's a big expat community here.
Okay.
So there are lots of people from different countries, European countries in general, a good few Brits and Americans, North Americans, whatever. And of course, it's easy to speak English with those guys. But I think the specific meetup group that I found, there were a couple, but one that I found a little more interest with was in English. It was like D&D in Barcelona in English, because I couldn't, I wouldn't say, although I speak Spanish, I wouldn't feel at the time, at least. I probably still don't feel confident enough.
Yeah.
Excuse me, gaming in that other language.
Absolutely.
But I was really impressed with some of the other members of this meetup group that, like I said, they were from lots of different countries. Like the first GM that I had was German, and Germans speak amazing English, if you want to be stereotypical about it. But countries where they've got a high level of education, the other languages that the people might speak will be a better or a higher level, I guess, right? So, right. Or perhaps just the more education that a person has, or maybe they're more intelligent, whatever. Okay, so the people that were in this group all spoke English and all played the game in English, but they weren't all from native English-speaking countries.
Right.
And those that weren't, I mean, it was really impressive because, come on, if you're having a laugh and participating and doing everything that most other people do in another language, that's totally impressive. That's right. What you want, right?
Absolutely. Well, and then, to say nothing of understanding the rules, right? Because RPG rule sets are finicky sometimes in terms of nuance and meaning. Like, we can't even agree, among us English speakers sometimes what all the rules mean.
That's what I was going to say. Sometimes, like, the translation, things will not translate as fluidly, right. I should say.
So,
I don't know about that, but I can certainly have a try. I can do my best, We're going to see about that.
I love it when we get another chap on here that can spike with an accent.
McConaughey impression there. Well,
that's actually pretty good, actually. So, I'm curious. So, you started out board gaming in terms of Hero Quest. Moved on, played some WG Star Wars, which is awesome, by the way. Joe and I are huge fans.
Yep.
When did the D&D bug bite? And then, are there any other systems that you've kind of played early on that sort of stand out for you in terms of your gaming history?
Sure. Okay. Well, I would say that if you want to put it like that, the bug biting, that probably didn't happen until 2019. Okay. So this D&D club that I was a member of, and I bought the books and I bought the Moldvay Basic Edition, and I had the Blue Expert Edition as well. I bought that in a boxed set, and I've got my original dice from that time as well. But I didn't, I think I was, I don't know, maybe I wasn't really with it enough, maybe not intelligent enough to really get into or sort of broach the idea of understanding the rules at that time, which is why I was interested in the miniatures and things. I've been interested in art and drawing and things like that, and design and stuff, So, but then when it came to actually role playing and playing this game, this kind of social game with others, it was really when I came back to it the second time, not the 90s time, because that was still a bit like I wasn't sure what I was doing. Right. We were, just having a laugh. But then it clicked a bit more in 2019 when I came back to it.
Nice.
And other systems, as far as that's concerned, I've played since then. I'd say that's basically my real RPG kind of history from that point.
Right. What
did I say? It's mid 2019 or something like that.
Yes, sir.
Right.
So since then, other systems would be Mithras, which is RuneQuest 6.0, I think.
Yep.
And Harnmaster as well. Okay. Those are the two other. Those. I played I played a game of Lasers and Feelings.
Yep, Lasers and Feelings.
And a game, and obviously 5e. What else? I think. And ICRPG, various games.
Yep, we're going to get there. Yep.
We'll get there, hopefully. Because I've heard that name bandied around somewhere. ICR something.
What is it?
But yeah, okay. So the Mithras and Harnmaster were both super crunchy, as they say. You're supposed to say crunchy, right?
Right.
Very detailed, and more on the simulationist, the realism kind of thing. And I'm ashamed to say that on the Monday nights when we will play this Harnmaster, it was Harnmaster Middle Earth edition, and I played an albino elven mage type of character. And we didn't really do much. I don't know, it just didn't. I was looking for something a bit more, a bit more snappy, a bit more quick on the action, and less on what the DM was perhaps interested in, the narrative things or stories or descriptions or images. I don't know. I mean, it was by no means his fault nor the fault of the other players, but it just, I'd joined it and perhaps I shouldn't have. So I had to sort of step down, which is a pity because, they were all really cool people. And then what was it? The Mithras one again. Yeah, that fizzled out because of other players. They just had to leave. They had commitments.
Gotcha.
Middle-aged players have these kind of commitments, as I'm sure you're aware, family and home and all sorts of things. And then I was bumbling around a bit and came across 5e hardcore mode. Hardcore mode. Oh yeah, okay, that sounds interesting. Professor Dungeon Master. Okay, maybe I'll check it out. But maybe that's leading on to another question you have. I don't know.
Yeah, well, so I am sort of curious too. That's awesome. I do want to talk about Runehammer and your involvement in Runehammer.
Right.
Was there a time, Mono, where you jumped into the DM seat, or have you been
a
primarily
question.
a player?
Well, when I was in the Discord of the Dungeon Run, this 5e show, and the first couple of episodes before the pandemic, they were filmed in a studio, and they had these maps. I beg your pardon, sorry. It was amazing. The production value on it was really good. They were whatever. If you go back and watch the first few episodes, there were some amazing maps. And so I was on the Discord of that, and everyone's into the show and speculating about characters and doing all that sort of thing. There seemed to be a deficit of GMs, and so I thought, I mean, I've played a little bit with this meetup German GM and a gang of players there. I thought, maybe I could do that. I could probably do that.
I could step into that.
Yeah, I don't have this one anymore. Yeah. But and then I watched a couple of videos. I'm a big YouTube user, and it's not always the best thing. I don't know. YouTube is a bit weird, but it
Yes, it
led
is.
me to Matthew Colville, who was probably the first couple of videos that I watched that really just said, just do that. A couple of things, and this is it. Just something. Start simple. Start, with a couple of goblins. He's got this intro adventure thing, and so I did that for a couple of people on the Discord server of this show, and
Cool.
and made some mistakes, and then
Of course, I still make mistakes.
All of us.
exactly right, and then you think, oh yeah, I should have done that, and then you think about what you should have done, and then you just do that next time,
Right?
Yes.
and then if that does,
I got to freeze that because you've just touched on probably one of the best secrets of the hobby and the DM chair, which is just do it. Like
Right.
just do it. Like put in the reps, right? You're gonna make mistakes along the way. Hopefully you learn from them and you try to improve your craft. And I think what's so great about that message for folks, right? And hopefully you agree, is that means that anybody can do it. Like there's sort of this mythos and this fear around being a DM, but if it's something that you can improve as you go, then that means it's totally accessible for anybody.
Right?
You know what I mean?
Being a GM isn't like, it's not like broaching like a massive monolith.
Yeah, it's not brain surgery where if you mess up, like there are big consequences. You know, like you can.
Anyone could do it. Totally.
Sorry, I hijacked you and interrupted, but
no, not at all. No. I mean, I was laughing because that's, you know, with the other guests that you've had, you know, you wrap things up. Okay, well, we're going to wrap things up. Do you have any special advice that you'd give to people? And you've kind of you've hijacked mine. The thing I was going to say, but that
totally still works. It totally still works.
I've stolen your thunder. I'm so sorry.
No, not at all. Not at all. It's fine. But the good thing about it is that I know that it's right because you said it. You know?
but you said it.
Right, but you said it. It was your point.
Well, there you go.
I just put an
said
underline and a highlight and an exclamation point around it.
Okay.
Yep.
That makes me feel so much better. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you were getting there, so I'm sorry. My apologies.
No, not at all. Not at all. Absolutely not. No.
Well, hit it, Mono. Hit it again. Drive it home for everybody. If this is your best DM advice, here it is. Drive it home.
Not at the end of the video.
Let's do it now.
Okay.
The chaos.
All right. Well, okay. This is exactly. What are you going to do with all the time stamp things? Well, I've got 3.
Stamp.
Or whatever it is, right? You know, the chapters and stuff. So I've got 3 things.
Okay.
And I'm probably going to have to put my glasses on back on to read them because I've got it all worked out. Oh yeah, there it is. Right. Okay. So general advice, right? I've distilled it down to a couple of words. Their fun is your fun. There you go. Sort of paraphrasing the our fire is, or my fire is your fire quote, which someone came up with for Equilibrium, which was Hank's abandoned comic project, right? But if their fun is your fun, okay, so if the players are having fun, then you will have fun because that's what it's about. It's a game. Yes. It's a game for the people in the room at the table playing the game. And if they can have fun, then you know you're doing something right.
Yeah.
So do things that enable their fun, and you'll have fun because you feed off what how they're reacting. You know, so whatever that is. Sorry to be so kind of what's the word, overarching or you know, top down view. Like it's a bit vague, but it is different for different people, and you know, all that sort of thing. New GMs. Do it.
Yes.
Get feedback, iterate, and then repeat.
Right? Then do it again. That's awesome.
Then get your feedback, good or bad, and then you know, tweak it, and then just do it again and feedback, and that's that sort of thing. Brilliant. Which is what I'm kind of in the middle of and trying to do. And then for people who are a bit more experienced, I would say, look at your mentor's mentors. What I mean by that is, in the past, I was interested in techno music, house and techno music. I wanted to do DJing and things like that, right? And some of the music of Daft Punk, they did lots of more poppy kind of tunes, very good pop, you know. But they also had some more, what would you put it, less commercial music, which is a bit more dance orientated, a bit heavier, and maybe not so pleasant to listen to. You couldn't play it on the radio, for example. So during the day, you know, it's a bit more hardcore. And I thought that's I love that sound, that French house kind of sound. And there was one song that they had called Teachers. And it was the lyrics to the song. It was a very simple beat. And it just went through just names, all names. And I thought, okay, it's called Teachers, and it's got all these names. So the names must be the teachers
of
the band, right? So I just looked up some of these names on the internet, and oh my God, about I'd say like 80% of the names that I could find examples of music. There were music producers and DJs and artists and bands. About 90 or no, about 80%, I think it was. I thought, yeah, bookmarking that one. Oh, that's really cool. So if you admire someone for what they say, and this is, I guess, in all sorts of different avenues, but if you really admire someone, if someone helps you out at the beginning, or you're watching their videos or whatever, perhaps it can be interesting to look at what inspired them or who inspired them.
Right.
What books do they read? Who do they quote? Once you've got the basics down, then you can kind of follow your own path, because it's not going to be the same. Everyone has their own influences, which come out in the products or the art or whatever, their creations.
Right.
It's this representation of a person. So perhaps your spin on the person that influenced you most, your spin on what their influences or influencers were might be different, and
because you're putting yourself in there with it too. You're taking all those wonderful influences and injecting you along with it. And that's beautiful.
I love it. Say the point the way you first said it again, which is that it's your find your mentors. And
that's right. That's what
I love it. Like those 3 points are just solid gold, man.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I love it.
My work here is done.
But that's what I was going to say. Like, I think we need to wrap the show.
Bye.
That's beautiful, man. Killer.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
I love it. Well, hey, so that leads maybe to an interesting segue, which is then how did you get wrapped up in this Runehammer community? Like, how did you find Runehammer? How did you get kind of, involved in the Runehammer Discord, the Runehammer community? Because you kind of weren't there at the beginning. I think you kind of came a little bit later.
Oh yeah. Let's see. It was. I can't put dates on it because my memory is so bad. But I watched Professor Dungeon Master video or DM's craft, or no, that's Scotty, isn't it? I can't remember. Whatever.
Could have been either one of them.
But the guy with the tweed jacket, the plus one tweed jacket, PDM. Watched a PDM video where he mentioned 5e hardcore mode, and I was thinking, because after playing in a couple of games and maybe DMing Lost Mines of Phandelver for a couple of people, that was really weird. It split up. We didn't get to finish it. We were about about 3 encounters from the end. It split up because actually that doesn't matter why, because that might be a bit silly. But a really kind of annoying reason.
Yeah.
But this stuff happens. It happens exactly right. But anyway, sorry, I'm digressing. I found that 5e was a bit lacking, or at least the way I had played it. Maybe I was just thinking too much about the rules, right? And this, the guy was talking about hardcore mode. Death is more real, and you get fewer hit points or whatever. So I thought, yeah, cool. And when there's only like €6 or something, or very, something very cheap, compared to these official 5e rule books that were just super expensive for me, at least.
Right.
And I thought, I'll have a punt at that. Yeah, why not? I bought it, and then I had the tokens, and because all this stuff came with it. And I thought, oh yeah, right, perfect for like online games. And so I joined the Discord, which was like €1. I beg your pardon. Sorry, it's €1 or a little bit more than €1 a month or whatever, and that's fine. That's perfect. And Patreon, you're supporting someone, supporting a creator. That sounds really cool. So I joined the Discord, and I was asking questions of 5e hardcore mode, and people were like, what's that?
Yeah, who?
hardcore what? And everything was ICRPG. Everything was this 5-letter acronym, and I was like, what the hell's that? What's going on there? IC. Oh, it stands for index card. Oh, right, yeah. Huh? What? Index? What? And I hadn't really watched that many of the videos, not enough of them to get the full philosophy behind ICRPG. And someone said, yeah, it's in the videos. So I looked at the videos and found the room design, the mechanics videos. And that was another time where I was, oh, right. Oh, yeah. And my mind was opened. And that doesn't happen very easily. And it's still happening. It's still opening. Or the idea is still kind of permeating through my skull top membrane. But at the beginning, I think I was probably too familiar with my kind of my new, in inverted commas, discovery of 5e and the rules, because I was just getting to grips with the idea of, so when it came to this ICRPG game, which I had to play, I was almost obliged to play because no one was into 5e hardcore mode, and I felt quite disappointed, shall we say.
You were left out. You had to...
I was a bit pissed off, to be honest, right? that no one was playing this game that I'd spent money on. And I had to buy another game. Well, no, in fact, I didn't have to buy. That's actually not so bad, because then I thought, oh, well, the quick start rules are free. So, okay, I should shut up. So I shut up. And then I thought, oh, okay, right. That's okay, cool. I watched the videos, and it kind of, the two things fit together, the idea of things being a little more open to interpretation and a bit more vague in a positive way, sometimes positive way. I found it very lacking, to be quite honest, and unspecific and doesn't hold any hands. I think just to put a pin in that, one of your previous videos mentioned that, or somewhere else. I'm sorry, it may not have been you guys, but somewhere else I heard someone say that rules light systems are perfect because you can add whatever you want in. They are harder for new players, in my opinion. Rules light systems are, or can be, a nightmare for new players because they've got nothing. If you've got no kind of point of reference, then you
the context.
don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Right. It's kind of similarly coming from 5th edition, like coming through and looking at ICRPG. Like there's almost that same kind of disparity that new players have, where they look and the context that they're expecting isn't there. Like there is like that little transition period where it's kind of, like you said, like it kind of has to permeate. It's like it's distilling in the brain juices till finally like that sweet nectar comes out, and it's like, there's almost like this light switch of like, it's not, that other stuff isn't supposed to be there because I can kind of do whatever I want with this one, it's a freeing, but also kind of like a terrifying moment at first, like that expanse of the precipice, looking out and going like, well, shit, now what?
I think it's a valid critique of ICRPG, honestly.
Yeah.
And I love the game, but I think that is a very valid critique, that if you're coming to ICRPG, maybe not having played some other systems first,
right.
I think the level of freedom that's sort of built in could potentially be very overwhelming. And we do see that tension sometimes for people who show up and they're like, well, what about this? Or what about this? And I'm like,
yeah, exactly.
Let me cut through all that stuff. Like it's literally just this easy. Right.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of bolt on this or bolt on that or not bolt on this or not bolt on that. And I think you're exactly right, though. Somebody who's not familiar with that sort of framework, perhaps, if that's a good word choice, that could be very intimidating, I suspect. Interesting. Right. That's a very interesting viewpoint. Yeah. Awesome. And you're not alone. I mean, I've heard that from several people, and also people get into it and say, "Man, ICRPG just seems really thin to me." Even though I think you could argue ultimately it is very rich when you kind of get into the nuance of it. But interesting.
I think when when someone appears that says, "Oh no, there's no fully written modules for ICRPG," and because they expect it to be like not just 5e, obviously, but Dungeons and Dragons or whatever, Call of Cthulhu or other other role-playing games which do have modules, which do have this set more set kind of rule system, rule set. But when they come to this, yeah, exactly, it's a bit what they need to be kind of coddled a little. Maybe there should be a little training area where you let them in and you make sure that they're all okay. Little playground, or whatever, ball pit or whatever.
Right.
And then when they're ready,
a little car on the track first, then take the track off, then take it off the track later.
Yeah, exactly. But just so that people don't get lost. But eventually, I've played a game, and I've got a feeling that it might be you two might have actually been in that game. It was a game of Orvald's Tower, and I can't remember who GM'd it. There was, because at the time, this is probably a year and a half ago, something like that, maybe 2 years ago. I was invited to a game of ICRPG, this game that I had previously thought, I don't want to play with index cards. I don't know, I don't get it. And it was online. This is during the pandemic, so it was an online game, and obviously the other players were in America. So, and playing it was like, oh right, yeah, and you ask lots of questions as you do as a first time player or a new player, and most of them are just yeah. The answers are just like yeah, okay, yeah, whatever. Just that's the target. Whatever you just roll it. See what happens. And then I'm thinking, what, really? You should, yeah, okay, all right, yeah, all right.
I don't have to find a thing on my sheet that says I can do it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
Do it. Right.
And that was really good. I think everyone died in the end, but it was good fun. And then with other games, I had a more sort of long-running game, which was fairly soon after that, with Glocker and Sterling, and there was a couple of other guys from the community server, and that was really good. We can talk if you want a little bit about one-shots versus longer games. I don't know about campaigns necessarily, but longer games, and they've both got their pluses and minuses, I think. But and then once that game, because of how life works, that didn't really, the game kind of fizzled out a little bit. Right. And by that time, I thought, yeah, now with this system, rather than as I had with 5e, I thought, yeah, I could do that, and maybe even more so because, I beg your pardon, when I got the rules, it was really just there, the DM section, this famous DM section. It really, opened. It's the videos distilled basically, onto the page. The room design and all that sort of philosophy and things. And at that time, I hadn't listened to any of the mainframe episodes, which are another kind of seam of goodness, in the rock that is RPG rule advice or whatever. But so yeah, that's when I got into the DM seat to as a long answer to your question. I'm sorry.
No.
Apologies.
And interestingly, so I think what I'm hearing here, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's the case that you kind of saw ICRPG at first. It kind of ticked you off in a way, felt a little bit inaccessible in a way, but then after playing a few times, it sort of started to create maybe a shift for you. And now where do you stand with it? Is it a system that you enjoy?
Absolutely. absolutely. I think almost to my detriment. I'm not sure I could be bothered playing a different system because
Right.
it would be fun. I've heard good things about like Mothership, for example. The space sort of thing. And then there's I've played easy. I recently played an easy D6 game, which was very cool actually.
Yeah.
And I would like to have a go at Shadow Dark when it comes out. I think I've got the quick start rules, but I haven't. Which are free, I believe. Quick start rules. This is Kelsey Dion's game.
Correct.
Yep.
But I haven't read them yet because I've got a couple of things that I want to do beforehand. And let's see what any other games. I think. No, I don't really feel inspired to. There's nothing, for example, that's making me think, yes. There's nothing that I read yesterday. Nothing new as far as different systems are concerned.
Right.
And if I've already read it, or if I'm happy as it is with ICRPG. But that kind of comes back to this thing of learning about better improving your DM skills. Just having a go and doing it again, or getting feedback, what was good and bad, and then just modifying your next game and then playing the next game and just repeating that cycle. Yeah, exactly. I was in that. I'm still in that. Recently I've had a couple of games of Red Sword, and one of your videos. I think the guy's name was Dennis. I'm sorry. It was like the ICRPG Ronin, right? That guy. And one of his advice after watching that, because his advice was get them in the fields, right? Something like that, make them feel something. And I was thinking, okay. And I added something to the Red Sword adventure, which is not in the book or anything.
Yeah.
And I added this little thing, which will hopefully play. I haven't got the opportunity to run it yet, but that's the sort of thing where, and also my favorite Hank video is the moral imperative, the idea of giving players this moral choice.
Yes.
And it's players, not the characters, right? The players have to decide whether to take all the money or save the villager, save the grandmother or whatever it is, right?
Right.
They have to make there's two. It's like the Batman choice in that film, right? Which really fakes out because I don't know, do they both die or whatever? But the idea, who are you going to save?
Right.
You can't win. You're not going to win, but who are you going to save? And getting someone to actually, not cry at the table, but creating emotions at the table, engendering emotions. Having someone go through some kind of thought process like that, if they're ready to do so, obviously, comfortable doing so, not just laughing and hey, I killed something, but making introducing that would
choice.
that would be that would be like the peak kind of game that I could play, because it's this extra little nuance to role playing. I mean, that surely is role playing, right? You're
Absolutely.
rather than just which is also cool, but rather than just rolling dice and seeing how much damage you do to something,
Well, yeah, it's it's the height of immersion, right? Like if you end up, not just in the moment of the fiction, right? Like you're reading the story, but you also walk away from it feeling defeated, or you walk away just feeling just
risen, or
or just angry, or you walk away feeling just miserable because of what happened, or you feel incredibly vindicated, or you have any of these strong emotions connected to the story. Like, I just think that is just the height, the height of the experience. And those usually are the moments where you end up telling your friends about years down the road. Like, hey, I was in the game this one time, and oh man, like like Kelsey Dion, she held in one hand the dagger that could destroy the world, and in the other
Yes.
hand, she had the dagger that could
Son of a bitch.
create the world, and it was her choice, and she's sobbing. I mean, she's literally sobbing. Like,
What can you do?
What-
You know?
right.
Right? She
do you
got
do?
the rest of us with the wet eyes from that one.
Yeah,
That was a
so-
hell of a
Okay,
moment.
okay.
Yeah, but yeah, that's exactly that thing that when
beautiful,
you've got that emotional impact, like
more DM solid gold right here, everybody.
No. But it's kind of
Trust it.
high level as well, because everyone's got to be on the same page. As far as their expectations are concerned, and I think that kind of comes with a longer time of playing with the same people, right? If you know what people can expect, people's limits as far as being uncomfortable or humor or
Yes.
gross out, gore, whatever, then you've got this comfortable limit within which you can push the boundaries, a little bit.
Right.
That
comes right back to trust. Like, you just
exactly.
you're
But the trust
trusting the
needs to be
folks at the table
built up over time.
Totally.
Exactly right. So, although I would say, hopefully, I haven't made players miserable after they've played the game.
Well,
That wasn't my intention to sort of like make people angry and cry.
Well, right. I meant that in a good way, right? That you that you are experiencing what your character was feeling in that moment.
Yeah,
So
it got to the players. Yeah,
yeah, that's it. So
yeah,
because you're not actually slogging through a swamp, right? But if you come away from that session going, oh man, we just went through this slog, and now I just feel like, yeah, right, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
That's like a good reaction right there. Most assuredly.
Well, I want to kind of segue this a little bit, Mono, into what then might be some of your favorite games or favorite moments that have stood out to you.
Oh, right.
I either in the DM seat or in the player seat. What have been some of the highlights in your gaming career? Where you're just like, oh man, this was stellar.
Right. I wrote them down. I think I wrote them down anyway. So that's why. That's why I've got the glasses.
I
and
love that you came prepared. I love this so much.
No.
I love it.
Well, let's see if I can actually find what I wrote down. Hang on.
I'm kind of feeling like I should have written something down.
Favorite moments. Okay. Right. So I've put down here for the player thing when I solved a problem that. I can't remember the specific games, and it's happened a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
But when I've solved a problem that helped the party, helped everyone to escape or kill the monster or whatever it was, right? And I think that's probably the role of the player, we're thinking of advice for being a player. Well, no, we're not actually. So yeah, when I helped someone, if you want a specific thing, although it's not exactly that. I mean, the character that I created for the Lasers and Feelings game that I played, which was it was bonkers, complete mental rubbish. It's just so stupid, and. We all had stupid characters, and it was really good fun. But it was, I mean, whether or not it was actually role playing, I don't know. But that was fun, and it was with this friend that I've had since the '90s. It's the same guy that I used to play WEG Star Wars with and Shadowrun. We've sort of started gaming up again, or started up gaming again. So I don't know. I mean, but I think when you realize. Or when I've realised that I've done something that benefits everyone everyone that's playing, everyone at the table, I suppose you could say, that would be a favourite moment whenever that's happened. And then the DM one, when I feel that I've learnt from a game that I just ran. So you have the
Those
feedback,
are great moments.
and when, especially learning from a critique, because most people are polite enough to say thank you for hosting the game, and that was really good, that was really fun. excuse me, and there'll be lots of praise, or there often is, just out of good manners, which is good, which is fine, absolutely. Thank you. I love that. But when there's a critique and it is warranted, and you can, and I've approached it from a learning point of view, when I've tried to learn from what that person says, try to understand their point of view and why they said it. And sometimes, it's clear that the person is saying it because they didn't get to do a thing that they wanted to do or whatever. But sometimes the person says, well, maybe you could do this, you could include this, or maybe you shouldn't do that. When I think about that thing, that feedback which comes in the tribunal feedback phase of a game, which is, as I think you've already said, you guys, that it's almost imperative to have. When you get that, I mean, education is basically the solution to almost everything. But when you take that on board and you think, that's actually a good point. Realizing your own mistake, or rather, realizing how you can improve. Maybe not that it's a mistake, but how you can improve. Right.
Right.
That's really good as a DM.
Absolutely, killer. Yeah. That's brilliant, and that's very consistent with my own philosophy. You're exactly right. Most people in the moment are going to be merely polite. They are not going to give you what I would call meaningful feedback unless you really seek it out and you create the conditions at your table in which people can give it. And the idea is, when it's genuine and it's not designed to tear down, when it's designed to lift up and make you better. Like, hey man, we were playing this game. Like, here are a couple things you did that were amazing. But here's this one thing you did that kind of irked us all. Or here's this one thing you did where I think maybe this could have been a little bit better. Man, those moments are killer. Like, if you have a person at your table who will shoot you straight like that, that is solid gold, because that will make you better really quick. If you approach it from an open mind, like a learning sort of childlike mind that you want to get better and you want to improve your craft, that's sort of feedback, and also is money.
And also if you receive it in that same light.
Yeah,
you're the recipient of it, and you take it as honest and genuine, and not as an antagonistic thing. Like I got this guy right here. Alex will always like shoot me a message just straight up, like, dude, that was some BS right now. I mean, not like direct like that. I'm just saying, but like he'll be like, no. He'll be like, hey, dude, everything's great. Everything was great, but these moments here, it felt like the beat was off. Like there was something just missing, and it seemed to kind of lag. Like, going into the next one. And it's always just like exactly these moments where it's like these moments of elation of like, oh man, yeah, I was thinking it felt a little, oh, that's great. And it gives you something to work on. Like that kind of feedback is priceless.
I'll speak it out. Like sometimes I'll hit Joe up after a session and be like, hey man, like when this happened, it felt like everything just lagged. Like how are you feeling on the player end of this? Right. Like where were you at on this? And that's so invaluable, because sometimes they'll be like, yeah, it was, dude. It felt like your challenge tune was off, and I'll be like, yeah.
Right. And other times it's no, dude, that was all in your head. This was righteous.
Like, oh, cool.
But no, like,
no,
I'm in total agreement. Those are wonderful moments as a GM to have that kind of like candid feedback, that those tribunal moments, because ultimately communication is. It's 90% of this hobby. Like, so talking to each other is like the best part of it.
Well,
that's wonderful.
It makes you better. I mean, it just makes you better,
Rising tide.
Well, so,
raises all ships.
Man, we have talked all about DMing and playing. I do want to get your best player advice, maybe as we get into sort of some final thoughts, but I really want to know, I want to shift gears now to sort of maybe the meat of this, which is, how did you get involved in making these killer dice? Where did that come from? I get the sense, given your interest in music and all those sorts of things, and art and creating, that you've always been sort of maybe a creative person. But I don't know. And I'm just really curious, how did you get involved in making dice? How did you get involved in sort of this craftsmanship?
That was tricky to set up. Sorry.
Oh, wow. Okay. Very good.
Joe does stunts, everyone.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just really excited that I got them all like lined up. I'm sorry.
Wow, you want a hero coin for that? My God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right here. Take this kind of hero coin.
Oh, it can be used. That was the idea. I thought people could use them for hero coins, but then on the Discord, someone said that, like, I use them to keep open my my bedroom door, or like I use them to stub out a cigarette or something. I can't remember now, but whatever. So yeah, and about the end of 20. Again, more bullet points, by the way, to try and stop me rambling. I don't know, because of course I can talk a long time about this particular subject. At the end of 2019, as I kind of mentioned before, I was making chainmail things, just because I think it was probably like a random YouTube recommendation or something. Things like that happen.
Are you talking like full full
No.
like dice bags?
No.
Or, like,
Yeah.
What was the scale?
Well, I think the first thing, you know what? I think it may well have been a chainmail dice bag.
Okay.
That was the first. I think the first project was, I think it was a video about making a chainmail dice bag, not just chainmail in general.
Gotcha.
Or at least fairly soon after having found one. I mean, I started making chainmail dice bags, and there was a really good tutorial that I found on, I think it's Instructables, is the website, and I followed the tutorial and had a chainmail dice bag, a little pouch thing, and it was like, oh my God, this is great,
Nice.
And that kind of coincided with, or in fact was a little bit after having come back to 5e or D&D and 5e at the time, and I gave a dice bag to one of the guys that I was playing with, and then I made another dice bag which was better quality, like with steel. I made my own rings from steel wire and everything, and I cut the rings and put them all together, and I sold that to a player in another game. This was, another one of these guys from the meetup group.
Yeah.
And I didn't sell it for that much money, but it was cool. The money wasn't the important thing, but like someone had bought something that I made. And wow, I was proud. And then I think probably due to the chainmail videos that I was watching, the chainmail maker videos on YouTube, the algorithm put dice making videos in front of me, and specifically by a channel called what was her name now? There's Dark Moon Dice, I think it was. And she had these instructions on making dice. Very simple. She said, just do this and this, and it was like one of the first dice making channels to come out. There was another guy later on whose videos I found later on. I'm not sure if when they were put out, called Rybonator.
Yes.
Who had loads of videos, and they were really, really well produced. And I thought, I can do that. Come on, that's and they were made in that sort of way, where it's like you could do that. Like a lot of videos are, a lot of how-to videos. Right. Make it look easy to do the thing.
Right.
And so I thought, yeah, cool. I'll have a go. And then I found a Reddit, a subreddit about dice making, and through that joined a Discord server which was about dice making. And along the way you pick up these tips, and there's things. There's information about what to do, what not to do, what resins, the timing, and what equipment you should get and how you should alter that equipment, or if you should, and blah blah blah. And I started making. I found videos on how to actually use Fusion 360, a 3D program, to make my own polyhedral shapes and put the numbers on and everything like that. So I designed my own 3D dice, my own 3D masters, I guess. Got them printed in a 3D printer, which is the next step.
Yes.
And then started making my own custom dice. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if I could cut you off right there just for a second. How did you decide, I think at that step of the process, how did you decide when you were making your masters to do the sort of oversized...
I was thinking the same question.
Because your D20s in particular, I think even the D6s as well,
yeah, all
the others are a little bit larger than traditional polyhedrals. And I have to say, I love it. I think it is
chef's kiss.
One of the things that make your dice so good.
Right, the size, the font.
The size, the font. How did you decide on those things? Was it pure accident?
Yeah. Was that right off the bat? Was that right off the bat that they started out larger?
Yeah, it couldn't have been.
What if it was? What if it was an accident? I don't know.
Well, it was brilliant.
It's brilliant. Well, it's a brilliant idea. I mean, I don't want you to give away a trade secret here.
No.
But the fact that they are bigger, they are, to me, they feel way better to roll. Yeah. They're easier to see at the table. They're way better to handle. Other than occasionally you'll find a dice tower that the D20 won't fit through. That might be the only downside that I've found to your dice. Otherwise, this larger
somebody
size,
made the dice tower wrong. That's all I'm hearing.
Right, exactly. Like these dice are so good, and I'm just curious if you blundered on that oversized.
Why have you got a dice tower? What are you doing with the dice tower?
Well,
don't need it.
I don't.
Use this to roll your dice.
Well, my son bought one when he was really young, so he.
Okay. Someone else bought one. So
there isn't one in my home. Actually, it is pretty cool because somebody 3D printed it, and it's kind of epic looking because it literally is like a castle tower.
Yeah, I've seen some of them are really like totally intricate, and I'm not knocking anyone who has a dice tower.
I am.
As
I'm not. I think they're pretty cool.
I'm kidding.
But here's what Hank does. This is what Hank does, right? He says, "I'm not knocking anyone who likes 5e. Rock on. If that's your jam, rock on." Which is code, as far as I'm concerned, which is code for
jog
I don't
on.
really like it. It's what maybe jog on. Yeah, exactly right. It's like I'm not.
Jog on.
He's because it's going to be on YouTube forever. Then you don't want to say 5e is a bit rubbish, so you just say, no, you do you, man, that's cool. Dice towers, not my thing.
Real talk on mono. Boom.
But then but then listen, why does anybody buy my dice? You can buy other dice which are more accessible, I guess. I don't know. Oh dear, maybe we should cut that out. I don't know.
But why?
No, don't cut it out.
Why are they oversized?
Okay, but why are they oversized? No, you're right. I'm sorry. To answer that question, okay. Well, I think it's probably a little. It's like a little accident and a little planning. There's probably a bit of influence of both, because the first dice that I started out with were the regular kind of playing with, with the regular chess size, whatever you call them, but I found that they're harder to read, obviously. The numbers are tiny. And when I had the opportunity to make my own dice, I thought, measuring the sizes of the D6, people, or at least I've found that sets are generally kind of gauged by the size of the D6, or the D6 is a nice standard because it's easy to measure with a micrometer or whatever. And so I think the regular ChessX D6 is about 14 to 16 millimeters. That's a bit too wide of a range. I should be more accurate, but mine.
I think it's around 16.
But mine is about 17. Mine is a bit bigger. And I thought I'll bump it up a little bit, bump up the sizes. But also because and the numbers, right? So there's two things. Your question is like two.
Right.
Seems to have been two-sided or two parts to it.
The twofer.
One the size of the dice, and another the size of the numerals. I wanted the numbers to be big because not because I was thinking necessarily of a middle-aged man who wears middle-aged people who wear glasses, like all three of us, right? You know, or any of the people that I basically knew, you know, coming back to D&D, but just because, I don't know, it just, they were just bigger. You could see them; they were more obvious, right? Not necessarily because of the glasses thing and doing it for that, although that's become a good feature of the dice, and it's something I'm not going to change with this particular set because everyone goes on about, oh my god, they're so easy. Not everyone, but many people do.
The table readability is amazing.
Well, yeah. Well, and if you're rolling them across the table and not in the dice tower, you can see them a lot better.
Yeah, the table readability is amazing.
Okay, no, I sorry, I shouldn't have said that about the dice tower thing. I mean, go for your life with the dice tower. That's fine.
I rolled them across the table.
Okay, well, look. I'll give you dice towers. Okay, no problem. But dice jails, no way. I'm not. No.
Yep.
Yeah,
I'm right with you.
Sorry, dice jail, no way.
I don't jail my dice.
Never. Mine don't live in a
my
jail.
bag.
No way. You can put one to the side, but never should they be locked away in a jail.
Indiscriminately, I might add.
No need to shame a dice like that.
No jail can hold the D20.
So a little bit. So it was a little bit of happy accident, but a little bit of planning.
Yeah, I'd say so.
How about these awesome crystalline D4s?
Oh gosh, yes.
Oh right, yeah.
How did you decide on that shape?
I'm not the first, and when I did, I wasn't the first person to do that. It was on the dice making Discord that I was a member of. I can't remember who it was. I'm afraid I can't kind of cite a specific influence. But someone came up with the idea. Someone someone more creative than myself. Did it, you know, someone who's probably thinking about maybe had gone through that process, right, where they make the thing, they get some feedback, and then they iterate on that feedback.
Right.
And the feedback probably having been, oh my god, I stepped on a D4 the other day, and now my foot is bleeding. You know,
right? That felt like more than D4 damage.
Exactly, right? Because it's your foot, and you know you need your feet to walk, even if you're wearing shoes. And because sharp-edged dice, that's another thing that we'll talk about. But you know, if a D4 in a sharp-edged dice set is really something to be reckoned with.
Yeah,
you know,
it's a caltrip. It's
absolutely
straight up a caltrip.
with no and no mistake. And so when the other person had, and it became a bit of a trend among some of the makers in that Discord server, and I thought, makes absolutely perfect sense. You know, that's really cool. Yeah. So I'm definitely not the first person to do it, and there have been other shapes that have come out which force four sides. You know, there's this really strange one which has got sort of curves. It's like a D6, but it's two the sides are curved.
I've got a set with those.
Oh wow, okay.
Yep.
And that's really cool. I mean, I think I'd like to keep it clearer, more obviously four sides. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I think I'll just keep with that one. You know, yep. But yeah. So a bit uninspiring, really. You know, that's it wasn't my. It's by no means my original creation.
Gotcha. Well, I will just say to kind of tie this into a nice little bow here for folks that are listening or folks who are watching. Those three qualities, I think, and maybe there's a fourth that we haven't talked about, but the first is that the dice are slightly oversized, and in terms of ease of use in terms of that nice tactile feel in your hand, in terms of the weight. That oversized quality is a huge feature of Monomakes dice, and it's amazing. Second is the font, that it is super clear. I don't know what it's called, but the choice is amazing. They read just phenomenally when you throw them. They're just beautiful. The third feature that I think distinguishes your dice sets are these sort of crystalline or four-sided D4s. They're not the traditional triangles. Also very easily read, and they're gorgeous. Those three qualities, I think, definitely set your dice apart. The other piece that I would say is that these edges are super sharp and super clear. And so they
work so well on these dice.
Yeah, they tumble well, they fall well, they roll well, they're stable when they land. I honestly just can't go on enough about how great they are. I think those four qualities together really set a set of Monomakes dice apart. And then the other thing is, this is not just the only color available. Joe and I have sort of these kind of these blue ice color that are clear.
I was getting a laugh about it because Mono was holding up the exact same.
I know. How weird is that?
There are some similarities here, gentlemen. I don't know what they all are, but there are some similarities here. But they are just wonderful. They really are. Yes, sir.
No. Please go on. If you're just going on about wonderful and amazing, and that's. But it's totally it's totally wrong. No. On other videos, like you did some promos of the competition. Yes. Oh yes, the encounter throwdown. And you're like, you could win these amazing adjective, positive kind of thing, dice, and then, I mean, come on, thank you very much. You're very, very kind, both of you. They're okay.
They're great. I mean, you had mentioned other more accessible dice, and yeah, sure. I mean, anybody can go out and get accessible dice. Totally. I mean, I could go buy used cars. That's great, but that's not like that high end. Like you can get the cheap. I don't mean cheap dice. You can get regular dice anywhere, but like these are they have more of that custom flair. They're built with care. They're built with hand eye, like they've got heart in them. They're not a mass produced thing, so it's this higher rated quality. Just like with everything else, the higher rated quality things are the ones that we're all going gaga for.
Well, and the other thing that I would say, and I don't know if this is true,
they're delicious, man.
I don't know if this is true for everybody, but whenever I have received a set of Monomakes dice, whenever I've ordered a set and they've come to me, there are always one or two little extras. Like the hero coin or the marker, or maybe, or maybe you've just thrown in another D4 or another D6, or you've always sent like another little like a little extra sort of thank you for supporting me. I don't know if you do that for everybody, but certainly the mere fact that you've done it at all speaks volumes about who you are as a person and as a creator. And like your business and what you're doing is outstanding. I really hope people are listening, watching. I really hope they go support you. And if they contact you directly, we'll put links in the description below. But I hope that they reach out to you for a custom set. I know you have an Etsy shop where people can go, and you do have a limited inventory there on the Etsy shop. But one of the ways that I found, and Mono, correct me if I'm wrong, one of the best ways to really get a nice custom set is to just hit you up directly, send you a message, let you know the specifications, and for the most part, you can largely craft pretty much anything people want. Like I know Kelsey Dion just got a killer set. I think hers were black with maybe like orange letters on them or something like that. They look just out of this world. I know you've done some opaque styles. Some of these other clear styles. I know you've done some swirls and some dice. You can pretty much craft anything. Is that the best way for people to hit you up? Just to like hit you up directly and say, "Hey, I'm looking for this."
Well, it depends what they want.
Within reason.
Yeah, exactly right. So as far as commissions, where people are asking for a particular for particular colors or whatever. As far as commissions are concerned, there's a limit to the amount that I can take on per month.
Sure.
I'm not going to say what that is because I haven't worked it out really, you know. And it depends. Certain sets are easier than others. One thing with commissions is that people will say, okay, well, they'll give you the prompt, you know, and you have a go. And if I'm overconfident, I might end up making a set which the person will then say, yeah, it's not really what I was after, or can you make it a bit darker, lighter, blah, 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 you know. And then I've got that set. Then I've got that kind of just, I have to leave it by the side there. Because commission is for the thing that you wanted. So I mean, when you say that you can make almost anything, I can't. You know, there are some amazing, like absolutely amazing. All the adjectives that you've used to describe my dice, I would use those because I'm a bit more of a reserved person when it comes to that sort of thing. I would use those adjectives to describe some other people who charge a lot more for their dice, but for good reason, because they are works of art. However, you know, I wouldn't use those works of art in a game. I would display them somewhere, and I would brag about having them, and other people could have a look at them if they wore gloves. You know, but they take a long time and a lot of practice and a lot of iteration. The same idea, right? Learning through mistakes or maybe happy accidents. What works, what doesn't work, you know. And I think to a certain degree, some of the things that I've done are a little more simplistic. I like to push the envelope, my personal envelope, a little every now and again. But there have been a couple of designs which are more sought after than others, and one of them being the sort of blood ruby design, which I think Hank actually coined the phrase. But this kind of red swirl within a transparent. Let's have a look.
I don't know if that's quite the right one, but that's the one. That's that little thing, you know. And it does take a certain technique. There is a certain technique behind it in order to recreate them. But I mean, I can't make absolutely anything. I'd like to try, and I enjoy trying. Right, that's the thing. You know, it's this idea of learning and coming back to iterating. I enjoy doing that, even though occasionally I'll make some mistakes, and sometimes, you know, I have to just throw out a set of dice because it will take too much time to process them, and we can talk about the process, very boring and long, another time, but or later, whatever. But you know, okay, look. So here's this one, just to hold up a different color for you. Right.
It's but yeah, that sort of thing. Easier to make, I guess, if it's a commission, you know. Although the shade of the color can be difficult, and that's also another thing, right? Depending on how people view a picture that you've taken, and you know, like which screen they use, for example, and depending which camera you've used to take the picture, and the lighting that was around at the time, you know, daylight, fluorescent, incandescent light. You know, there are so many factors in how a color can be represented, and getting things. One thing I would say with commissions, right? If you commission a dice from any dice maker, you must give them some kind of leeway backwards and forwards to approach your design, because it's part of their, you know, their art, their creation as well.
Totally.
And you'll never get 100% exactly what you want, and there will always be, in the vast majority of cases, there will be there may be a couple of inconsistencies, I guess you could say, because, like you said, I think earlier on in our conversation, you know, these things are handcrafted and stuff, and it's something that you should basically kind of expect almost with anything that you buy on Etsy, really, because that's what it's for, right? It's for handcrafts and stuff like that. But yeah, I guess as Joe was saying, this desire for exactly that, for this
Right.
touch of human
Exactly.
of contact is quite desired, and I have been astounded and very pleased at the fact that people have continued to buy these things that I make. Like started out with this chainmail dice bag, and then people are buying these things. I mean, that's amazing. I love it.
Right.
Um,
We love it too.
Yeah, and I do want to stress too, by the way, on your point about the difference between the pictures and the product that actually arrives.
All right.
So I requested this ice blue set of dice for you. I think this is maybe the third set that I've gotten. I purchased one straight from the Etsy shop. I got another set which I gave to Joe, and then I ordered these.
okay.
And
Thank you.
and so that first set that I gave to Joe was ice blue. I'm like, you know what, I need those ice blue dice back in my life. They were so good. And so I commissioned you for the set, and you said, okay, yeah, I think it'll, maybe around this color or so. And I said, yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Da da da. And then they turned out, and you sent me another picture, and you said, here's, how do these look? Which I think is amazing, by the way, that you reach back out to the customer and you're just like, hey, does this meet your expectation? Love it. And truthfully, in the photo, these looked, and they probably look a little bit on this camera, a little bit darker than I had maybe hoped in my heart of hearts.
Okay.
But they were close enough that I went, you know what? They're good, man. Like, let me just transmit the payment, ship them. They look amazing. Well, then they got here, and they're actually a little shade lighter in person than what was in the picture, to my surprise and delight. In fact, I consider them to be perfect. This
Oh wow.
This is absolutely 1,000,000% the set that I wanted in my heart of hearts. That's what came. You completely nailed it. But you're exactly right, and I did want to make that clear for folks, is that depending on the lighting and the picture and the camera, they're going to look maybe a little bit different on a screen than when they actually show up. But 1,000,000% you cannot beat the quality. You just can't.
Right.
Like, in terms of your process, I don't know if you're like hand sanding these with a little emery board, or like a little soapstone. You're just
kind of.
Like 6 million grit
House elves.
on that that final polish, and you got your little Dremel like polishing them up at the end. But they're just beautiful. They're absolutely beautiful.
Well, thank you.
I don't have another thing to really add, but you did mention the thing about the different lighting, different cameras, and everything. We've all three of us been holding up what are essentially the exact same color dice, and they've all looked a little different. Like mine are a little more green than I think they actually are on camera. Right. But that's because I have yellow lighting overhead. Alex, you've got the white lighting, so you're getting a lot more of those blues.
Yeah.
Mine look a little greenish compared, but they're essentially the same color. And you had some held up too, and they all look like they're a slight varied color, which they might be if you got them all close together. But just that difference in camera, I think between this one spot.
Mono, do you have yours? Let's see if we can get all three of them on screen here.
Well, I do, but this, and let me put my glasses on for some complete parity. Yeah, there we go. Okay, right. So, oh no, the wrong hand. Sorry, there we go. But this is actually an opaque die using using a dye, using an ink which I got recently, and it's not the same one. So those two,
the color is similar though.
I should say those two are the same. As far as I know, it's the same color, the same ink was used, but this one is a different ink.
That's cool. In the camera, I was like, "Yep, that's totally the same, like crystal blue, transparent." But no, it's opaque. Right. That's delicious.
Well, yeah, I mean these I think are a set that I'm going to keep. They are.
Sorry, folks, you can't have it.
Hey, but if you want a set,
a similar color,
they can reach out to you.
I can make some others similar, if you want.
Right?
I love well in terms of your process, and I don't want to bore folks with every single step. That information is out there. If they want to look it up, but I am curious. Just for for you in terms of this process, like is is it hard to do these? Is it super time consuming, or are you at a place now where you can kind of fairly quickly batch out a set? How do you stand with that?
Well, there's two basic stages, two kind of overall stages, I guess. One would be casting, and the other is what I would call post processing, I suppose. The first stage is great fun, and at the end of it is like Christmas, you know. I'll come back to that in a second. But the second stage, this post processing stage, is one that every dice maker that I know or have encountered hates, you know, because it is, you know, independent of what kind of help you may have in order to do that post processing, it's laborious. And so the first part, the casting thing, right? You have your, let's assume that you've already made your 3D designs. You've printed out the masters. You've post processed the masters themselves in order to make silicone molds of those masters. Okay, so you've got your silicone mold. You then fill that mold with resin and colors or not or whatever, or the inclusions. Some people put all sorts of different things in,
right?
You know, for different effects. And then you leave it the specified amount of time, dependent on the resin you're using. 24 hours is a good, you know, catch all. Right. And so the next day, you open the pressure pot, which is advisable, in my opinion, that you have one.
Yeah, get those air bubbles out.
Exactly. Well, it doesn't get them out. It compresses them so small that the human eye cannot perceive them, apparently. But that's the Christmas. Every time you do it, that's, or whatever, you know, that's your birthday. That's, you get the, you open the mold and, oh my God, did they come out? Did they turn out? Yeah. Get in, it worked, you know, and they all look okay and at first glance, and you pop them out, and then, oh yeah, cool, and then you know, you let them cure for a while, and then the second stage starts, and you have to just sand, first of all, sanding off any outcrops and little, you know, mistakes from casting, and then you just go to finer and finer grits. Of course, there's a crossover point where you are no longer sanding and you're more polishing. And some people, and I use a polishing compound. In fact, I've got two polishing compounds that I use. One is in a stick, which is used for the, you know, those belt. Oh, sorry, my table's running. The belt sanders or whatever, you know, the rotary, rotary polishers. They use this stick or this kind of brick of compound. I've got one of those, and then I've got some motorcycle polish as well, which I use for my bike as well. And that gets them super, super shiny. And you can use a Dremel or similar sort of tool if you want. You have to be very careful, though. Yeah, like you said, you know, there's YouTube tutorials out there. There are lots of them now. And they advise different ideas, different products, different methods. And, you know, it's a matter of finding out which works for you. I think, at the beginning you said, is it easy? It's not easy to get this mirror-like finish that every dice maker, at least initially, craves, right? That's what everyone wants. And I'm still looking for a more direct or more obvious and clear and maybe easier way to achieve that.
It's beautiful.
I mean, I don't know, but then of course, you know, how long does that last? If you're doing this super high level resin art, then, you know, that is an absolute must, because if people are paying X amount for a set of dice, you have to give them that a level of quality that represents the money they're paying, I would say.
Correct.
But then, of course, if any dice or any products are going to be used repeatedly, and hopefully the dice that I make are used, at a table.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, maybe not during the pandemic or whatever, but hopefully they start to get used. They're going to get scuffed a little bit, and that mirror polish, if I've managed to achieve it, it will go eventually. But that's just the life of dice. There's an interesting movie title. I don't know. I mean, I try to polish them as much as I can. I'd like to give a product to sort of sell a product that I would like to receive, if you know what I mean.
Right.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
and I know there are people that go really deep into it. They make all these boxes and packaging things and little crinkly paper and bows and stuff like that, which, for these people that are real dice collectors. But I add a couple of little bits and pieces occasionally when I can, and there's a little dice bag thing. It's not very expensive, not very good quality, but a little cheapo thing like that.
It's
exactly
great.
right.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
And
I had a little keychain. Oh,
and
nice.
yeah, and one of those. I've got that's I make sometimes when a die doesn't work, or there's a mistake, something goes wrong in a set, and I might make more. Like in a set of 66, there's often, I try to sell 66 if I can, because that's a common number, I think, that catches many of the ways they're used. But I'll try in my molds, I have space for 7 D6. So that if one doesn't make it, one doesn't work out very well, I've still got the 6, right? Or if it does, then I can, I've got an example of my work. I've got a whole box full of D6s. And occasionally the ones that don't make it turn into magnets, like this one. It's got a little magnet in the thing, like it gets made into a key ring or something like that. And those would be the extras, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I have a D20 on my fridge that is stellar.
Okay.
I mean, it's just as good a quality as this, except where the 1 is, it sticks to the fridge, and you can see
because there was a problem with the 1 face. It might have been what they call a raised face, where it sticks up a little bit, and you can't. And sanding it to give it the correct levels would occasionally it sands out the number. It makes the whole thing flat, so you can't use it.
Right.
Exactly right. So
that's killer.
It's good fun. I mean, sometimes it's really frustrating because issues pop up and you have to repair a particular thing, and I don't know if I was going to say it's a constant challenge. I mean, there are some challenges to it. It's obviously not a very hard job. I mean, it's not ice trucking or whatever, but
Ice trucking.
I don't know why I came up with that, but it's not like or on an oil rig or working in an NGO or something. It's not this hard job, but there's a certain amount of challenge to it.
Definitely.
I'm curious. I'm going to hijack you here again. What is your favorite set? What is your favorite color combo? If somebody orders these, you're just like, yes, like that's the one that I would play with.
Yeah.
Yeah, from the dice maker himself. What kind of dice are you gonna grab?
Okay, so I don't know.
They're all my babies.
I think, round-edged dice. Let me see. Over here.
I've seen some pictures of some of these. They're pretty snazzy.
This is a little box. He keeps them in a little box.
Oh, I've got loads of money in it.
Oh.
That's where I keep my money. So in case you want to break into my house, well, it's not going to be there now. But okay. Oh, right, there we go. There it is. No, you see, like I said, I kept some of the dice that I had from the basic and expert sets. So I've got this set of pale blue dice and still with the crayon sort of pushed into the
Right,
numbers.
yes.
And that's what I tried to emulate by making this particular one that I was holding up. It's I tried to get the color the same. This opaque sort of eggshell blue, baby blue type of
can you give
shade.
Can you give us a close up like this? Because
Sure. I'm not sure if that's going to work.
There we go.
Maybe
Perfect. Yeah, right.
closer.
Oh,
Go
yeah.
back. Go back.
No,
Go. Come back a smidge. Yep, right there. Hold there.
coming in and out. Yeah,
Perfect.
the rounding
That's
is
it.
nice.
That's gorgeous. Thank you very much. Oh, that's gorgeous.
No, not at all. I mean, it's okay. Thank you.
Love it.
I'm going to have some more. I'm getting some masters or some proper round-edged masters printed, which are more accurate. The ones I've got here are really just for me. I sanded the edges myself. So I took some time, and it's this sanding thing is about consistency.
Yeah.
Sanding, polishing, whatever, right? Because of course you're taking away, you can't add, or it's there are certain things you can do with UV resin to repair certain mistakes, but really only in quite a few instances.
Right.
If it's UV resin is transparent, or at least the one I use. And if there's a giant hole or a void, as you'd call it, left in the die, you can fill it so that it is not going to be unbalanced. I'm sorry.
Sure.
But then it's obvious and visible, especially if the surrounding colors are different, and then it's just not. It just, I don't know, it doesn't really look very good. That's the sort of thing that for me would end up as a magnet or a keychain or something.
Which is a great idea still.
Well, I don't want to waste the things.
Totally.
Yeah, right. I love it.
So
love your
item of convenience. Yeah.
Well, maybe, but so anyway, sorry. The blue, this blue set. That's why I like the blue set, because it reminds me of these original D&D dice. But then I have this one, which let's see, you can kind of just see. Yep. Which is round-edged. It's a D10 here. And this, the other one was black with white numbers, which I don't have anymore. And these two came from an MERP set, which I bought. And that was, I forgot to mention that before, actually, Middle-earth Role-Playing, which was a D100 system.
Yeah, I remember MERP. We used to play MERP a lot.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I bought it. I bought the book, and probably bought the book and the dice secondhand from someone in the D&D club, and I loved the book for the tables and the lore part of it. More than anything. I don't think I ever got to play the game, but I loved the dice as well, because the dice had round edges and they were all they had this lovely tactile feel. So what I've tried to do with this particular set, the ones that I said are for me, is take one from here and one from there. Like I take the blue from the D&D set and the round edged. So the round edge from the MERP set. Exactly, trying to make something there. I mean, I've got a set of yellow. Hang on, there we go. Maybe it's not focusing properly. Doesn't really matter. But they're on the Instagram.
Those are lovely.
Of yellow round edged dice.
Nice, like banana yellow.
Yeah, they are.
Those are movers.
And
I've got a set of yellow dice that you did somewhere
Really?
there on the hobby table. I've got a smaller set of yellow with black numbers from back in the day.
Excellent. Ooh.
Yeah.
If they're smaller, then they'll probably be right far back.
Collector's editions.
Yeah.
I have the collector edition Monomakes dice, y'all. So
What?
I mean, what can I say? Well, but you know what? That's interesting.
Collector's edition. Collector's edition. Right, here you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Prized possession. That one is. My God,
That's a rare commodity.
$500.
You're gonna have to You're gonna have to pry these crisp edges out of my cold dead hands.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
No,
Don't say that.
I love them the other way. I love these crisp edges. Love it.
Oh, okay. Hang on. I'm
Because
going
they're
to have to bring
crisp,
you up
they're
on
not
this.
sharp. They're crisp, not sharp.
Well, okay. That's the thing, right? Sharp-edged dice. I'm not a fan of sharp-edged dice, personally. So the sets that I make, the masters that I have, which the sets I make copies of, obviously.
Yep.
I wouldn't say that the edges are sharp. I would say that they're defined.
Yeah, they're crisp.
They're crisp.
But maybe crisp, you could say that, sure.
Yep.
But when we're thinking of sharp edge dice, that's the sort of thing that, the point on the D4 or the points on the D8 or something, or maybe the D10s will
Right.
break skin.
Correct. Yeah.
And
That's why I wanted to make that distinction. Like, they're crisp, they're not sharp.
Right,
Correct.
right.
Yes,
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, and they're cool, they are, for those that make them and buy them, but certainly for those that make them, they are easier to make than the ones that I make because of the specifics, which I won't get into.
Well, there's a lot of extra work
about
if you're
molding
breaking
them.
every edge.
This kind of.
Well, I will say, if you like rounded dice, I would just say, do your own thing, rock on with your jam.
Well, that's I do.
But
I'm going to be rocking on, man.
I'm going to be over here.
Well, okay, all right. I mean, I'll make sharp edge dice for you if you want. But
crisp edge. I'm teasing.
No, I'll make sharp edge dice if you want.
I'm teasing you, of course. I hope you know.
Oh, okay.
I'll give you some sharp edge dice, razor blade inclusions. Here you go.
How do you say
all that?
Am I taking the piss? Is that the correct expression?
You know it is, mate. You know that you've got all the expressions. You know what you're talking about. Don't give me that.
Wicked, isn't it, mate?
You've studied Cockney accents all your life, mate. You know it.
Christmas
You're taking the
cracking,
piss.
mate.
Yes, quite. Perhaps. I really don't understand.
Well,
But there you go.
no. Well, okay.
Accents, lovely. Silly voices. Love it.
I know. I'm loving it. I'm always a big fan of accents.
It is awesome to hear from the maker himself what your preference is as far as dice. It's really cool what you're doing. I love it. So whether you buy rounded edges, whether you buy crisp edges, Mono can take care of you. Like he really can. So please reach out to him. What is the best way to get a hold of you? Is it just at the Etsy store or is it Instagram? What's the best way to find you and interact with you for folks who are looking?
Okay. So the Etsy store is great because it allows people to just browse my wares or those of many other people, and there are lots of lovely creators out there, obviously, or makers. But that you can send me a message on Etsy. There's a system that allows you to do that.
Oh, good.
On Instagram, which I think you could just search for Monomakes with an underscore before and after. Okay. Or if you put Monomakes dice or something like that, because there's another account with my name that's not being used, which is a pity. But it's that username on Instagram, or if anyone is in the Discord server or a Discord server that I'm on, you can reach me there. Yeah, absolutely. Or monomakescraft@gmail.com. So which is also the name of the Etsy shop. So it's Monomakes, the maker name, craft, CRAFT,
nice.
at Gmail.
Yep.
Oh right, yeah. If you're going to put things on there, that would be lovely. Very much appreciated.
I'll put it. Yeah, I'll put it in the description too, so folks will have it.
Heck yeah.
So reach out.
I just point. Alex knows where stuff actually goes. I just point like I know what I'm talking about.
They are that way.
that way. And of course, you can always join the Runehammer community. $1 gets you in and gets you access to all this cool stuff that Hank has put out.
Right, $1 gets you access to Monomakes dice.
It gets you access to talk to Monomakes 24/7. You could just ping him. Please,
don't do that.
Please don't. But that would be a way to get a hold of him. You're very active in the Runehammer Discord, frequent contributor. We're super thankful for you to have you there.
One thing I'd like to bring up, just linked to that, is that so I was making for a while, selling things, and I actually have to say thanks to a friend of mine's, my best friend from childhood, who now lives in Santa Monica. His daughter said, "Oh, you should open an Etsy shop." Like one day, as an offhand comment, when I mentioned that I was making dice, she said, "Oh, you should open an Etsy shop," And I thought, what, really? I don't know. And then I did, and people bought them, and I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." But after a while, I got disillusioned with the dice making community, and I kind of spit the dummy and just stopped and said, "Oh, I don't want to do it anymore." And it was after that I found Runehammer and the Discord and everything, and I was watching the videos, and I thought, that's when this mind opening, this one of the many that I've had, happened, especially about to sort of look back to DM advice, right? And I thought, oh God, these videos are really cool, and I couldn't give him money at the time, because if you see someone that has provided value for you, it's only natural that you want to give something back, right? If you can. And I thought, well, I can't really afford to give money, but I've got this stuff to make dice. I can make him a set of dice. So I reached out, like Hankering's always saying, hit me up on the grams and all that business. Yep. And I said, I make dice, or I've made dice. Would you like me to make you a set? And he said, yeah, sure. I said, okay, so just let me know what colors and things like that. He said, well, can you do this, this, and this? I sent him a set, and he really liked them, and featured me heavily on his Instagram feed, and I think in the Discord and stuff like that. And there were these people like, ding, 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 ding. Oh, they look really cool. I want some of those. I want some of Hank's dice. And I was like, okay, all right then. And
let me see what I could do.
And then eventually it was basically you guys. And eventually he said, which is the biggest project, he said, can you do 200 D4s?
Wait, how many?
Well, yeah, and I did eventually. Mm-hmm. That was, I think it was during the summer. I cast. I think I had a set. Maybe I had 2 molds or one. I had I could make 10 at a time, I think it was, and I cast some in the morning and then some right late at night. So I was removing uncured dice, like unfully cured dice from the molds, and just treating them very carefully so they didn't bend while they were curing. And eventually, and then all that sanding and stuff like that, I had to buy a couple of bits of equipment to help me. And then I've got these pictures which are like 200 D4s, and I was putting cryptic messages in the Runehammer Discord, like using the roll bot, and it was roll 100 D4, and then I'd make another batch and roll 120 D4. And people are like, what are you doing?
Keeping it track.
Yeah, exactly. And then so apparently there's a few of them left over. He gives them out to people occasionally, and I did some sets for him, and it really kind of reinvigorated my my will and my interest in making dice. And so I have to say, 1,000 thank yous to Hankering for having done that. He gave me a lot of support to get back to it. And that's thanks Hank.
That's great.
That's lovely.
Well, and I would say what's really cool is that so at Jeff Con several weeks back, not only did I use your set at the table for the games that I ran, so even as a player, I pulled out my Monomakes dice. Those are the ones I used exclusively all the way through the con, so everybody saw me using them. And then late one night, I ran the GI Joe game.
Okay.
I guess maybe Action Force over in the UK. I ran the GI Joe game, and at the end, Hank gave me a Ziploc bag of your D4s and maybe a few other odds and ends to give away to the person who rolled the last natural 20 of the night.
Oh wow! Cool.
And so no, actually, I think that one, I think we did by agreement, maybe. And so it was Ogbang from our community who played Roadblock, and he did Roadblock traditionally like G.I. Joe. He did his character using rhyming sentences the whole night, which was fantastic.
That's a feat.
Yeah, that he pulled it off.
Wow.
And everyone voted, and I think in secret cast their votes. We tallied them up, and in any event, he won the bag of Monomakes dice. So he got a handful of your dice. Awesome. So yes, indeed, you are correct. Hank does use those as prizes to give away. He entrusted them to me to give away that night at the end of the evening. So
excellent.
That's very cool. Really cool. Very cool.
Well, so we have been talking now for a while. Believe it or not, almost 2 hours.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
I told you I was talkative.
It has been so enjoyable. I cannot thank you enough for coming on the show.